Let's take just about one more earnings into what we've been talking about over the last 20 minutes of the program. Kenya's Stanbic Holdings says its 2016 pre-tax profit fell due partly to an increase in impairment costs on credit. The group, formerly known as CFC Stanbic Holdings, which operates Stanbic Bank and a financial services firm, says in a statement that pre-tax profit was down to 6.05 billion shillings last year from 7.36 billion shillings in the previous year. Total income was up to 18.52 billion Kenyan shillings from 16.94 billion shillings in 2015, while net interest income rose to 10.86 billion shillings from 9.3 billion shillings the previous year. So Nigeria is set to become the first country in Africa to float a green bond. So Nigeria hopes to use those bonds to address some of the country's most challenging issues, such as energy and the environment. And that was what came to the fore yesterday at the interface between the government and its agencies, led by the acting president, Professor Yomi Osinbajo, and the debt market community in Lagos. Nigeria's acting president, Professor Yomi Osinbajo, was full of commendation for the interministerial cooperation that is working hard to deliver the country's first ever environment-focused debt capital market product called Nigeria Green Bonds. Professor Osinbajo says the federal government is flagging off the climate change bond investment vehicle that will open the way for other private sector issuers in Nigeria.
With the issuance of this green bond, we set a benchmark for ourselves and the wider market and begin to aggregate resources around elements of our economy that seek additional funding. Issuing green bonds are also a tool to support the shift to non-oil-based assets and attract private capital to finance these assets at a challenging time for our economy. Doing this as a sovereign gives us the opportunity to lay strong foundations that serve broader markets to bonds issuance and a pipeline of projects to states.
This Green Bonds initiative looks to address at least two of Nigeria's most difficult challenges of sustainable energy and the environment. Speaking to the global shift to clean energy, the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola, explains how Nigeria is ramping up on its efforts at achieving the right energy mix to which the new bond will apply.
We now have an energy mix for the country, and that is important. We seek to achieve 30% of renewable energy by the year 2030. Most of that renewable energy will come from solar, it will come from biomass, it will come from all forms of sustainable energy sources that reduces our dependence on first gas, which is very prolific for delivering power, but also gives the country an energy security so that no part of the nation is able to hold the country to ransom in future.
The chief architect of the Nigeria Green Bonds is the outgoing Minister of the Environment, Mrs. Amina Mohammed, and she used this major stakeholders interface to drive home the key points she believes will make investment sense to both local and international investors.
So we look to the economic nature of trees. How can we identify the top 10, just as the Ministry of Agriculture looks at some of the commodities from rice to tomatoes to the rest? How do we do that with trees? So that you give people an incentive not just to plant the tree, but they will gain from it, so they will protect it. And then we can talk about not just stopping the desert, but we can talk about reclaiming, because this happens in plantations.
As the federal government is set to float this unique investment product, Nigeria has taken another step, keeping in line with one of the main talking points of the global community: a clean world with a clean environment, powered by clean energy. And sitting to Nigeria's east is Cameroon, where a non-governmental organization called Green Girls Project is training young girls to provide solutions to turn wastes into biogas and thus provide cheap renewable energy where mainstream power and electricity supply is either too expensive or out of reach.
At a school in Cameroon's largest city, Douala, students learn how waste can be turned into a renewable source of energy. The lessons are run by the Green Girls Project, a non-governmental organization in Cameroon that trains young women in technology.
when I was in Kano in Nigeria, and I was program officer in charge of gender and human rights. So we were sharing didactic materials, empowering girls in this community in Kano on how to go to school and the benefits of education. And one of the girls approaches me and asks me, "Madam, we don't have light, so how do we use these books and all these things, educational tools you're giving us?" And then it hit me that there was a real need for light. So I diverted my attention and I decided to focus on promoting sustainable development in Africa with the help of renewable energy.
By turning waste into biogas, the project is tackling pollution and providing cheap renewable energy solutions in many parts of the country. Anything from discarded fruits to grass, as well as chicken droppings, once ingredients for menacing waste problem for the community, can now be a source of power. According to data from the World Bank, only 53% of Cameroon's population of 23 million have access to electricity. Cooking gas sold in containers can be difficult to afford, especially for Cameroon's poorest. A 12-kilogram cylinder of liquefied petroleum gas costs 6,000 Central African francs, or nearly $10, and that's according to the Ministry of Trade.
I think instead of us going to buy gas outside, we can use biogas because it will be much cheaper. And with biogas that we create ourselves, we can get like sewages or wages from, like, we can get like pawpaw peelings, banana peelings, and make our gases. And due to that, we'll be able to produce our energy, like to cook and to have light or electricity in our homes.
I cannot imagine that girls told us after the training, like the same day after the training, one of the communities, we were in Cambe, the community in Cameroon, we're in Cambe, and one of the girls tells us, "Okay, madam, we do not have this kind of wood, but we can use bamboo, a special kind of bamboo that they have there." She's like, we can use bamboo. And others were saying, "Okay, we don't have this, but we can use this." Like, it was amazing the way they were able to be creative enough and innovative a little time after the training.
So far, about 3,000 households have benefited in the regions in northern and southern Cameroon, which have received domestic biodigesters through the project, and demand is growing fast.
Amazing energy, green energy innovations across Africa. And that's about all for today on Business Incorporated. I am Bosunov. You do have a great weekend, and I'll see you soon.